Hello, I'm Cara Dahl Russell. We continue our series, Courtly Love and the Cult of the Virgin. As we continue to look at the ideas of courtly love and bring them forward in time, we have an example that cannot be escaped. The perfect virgin who represented not the church, but an empire, Elizabeth I. Eleanor of Aquitaine has been called by some historians the most important woman in all of history. And certainly her influence throughout the years covered by this series has demonstrated why. But if being the subject of histories, plays, fiction, poetry, music, architecture, and art are any indicator, the real crown would have to go to Elizabeth, the Virgin Queen. It is commonly accepted that there have been more biographies written about Elizabeth I than any other Tudor monarch, with widely varying facts and conceptions through time. Many historians assert that it was the secularization of Marian imagery that enabled Elizabeth I to parlay the iconography of a virgin woman that is remote yet caring, untouchable but maternal, into the revolutionary political and social impact of her reign. It also enabled her to be an iconic symbol of both her position and of herself. Like many movie stars through the years, it has been detailed that she did indeed pay a high personal price for using herself as her art form. In much the same way that nuns in Middle Ages entered a symbolic marriage with God, Elizabeth publicly vowed perpetual virginity and entered a symbolic marriage with England, dedicating her devotion to her people and her position. In his book, Queen Elizabeth I, Representations of the Virgin Queen, John N. King writes that, in this way, Elizabeth could receive the adulation of her subjects as the universal object of a Petrarchian religion of love, one that pervaded ballads, pageants, and dramatic entertainments. Her maidenly chastity was therefore interpreted not as a sign of political or social deficiency, but rather as a paradoxical symbol of the power of a woman who survived to govern despite illegitimization, subordination of female to male in the order of primogeniture, patriarchy, and masculine supremacy, and who remained unwed at a time when official sermons favored marriage and attacked both the monastic vow of celibacy and the veneration of the Virgin Mary. From a standpoint of the visual arts alone, we can see the gradual shift in her official portraits, from a young woman trying to show herself to be serious and capable, to a young adult as a potential mate surrounded by imagery of fertility, then as a very grand woman, austere and in control, and finally, probably when she had realized that the hope of marriage was gone or undesirable to her monarchy, it was then that her official portraiture rivaled the imagery of the Holy Madonna, and in all public presentation and dress, the halo imagery becomes inescapable. We will never know for sure if this melding of Marian imagery was intentional on her part, because we have few records of her inner thoughts. Long before Facebook and Twitter, at an extremely young age, Elizabeth I understood that all her speech and writings were public. What we can see in retrospect is that this daughter of the king who broke with the Catholic Church to marry her mother, this queen ruling over a country that had been bloodied by religious wars between Catholics and Protestants during her lifetime, this queen who was Protestant herself, adopted first verbal language and later on the visual imagery that was distinctly Catholic in flavor. This could have backfired and been viewed as idolatrous and sacrilegious. But because she espoused the acceptance of both religions, and also because this imagery did seem to be an outward reflection of a gradual personal path of the woman, it did not backfire, but helped to solidify her as a unified image for her country, even while it remained very divided in purely religious terms. In a very real way, Elizabeth I was the greatest and the last High Lady of the veneration of courtly love.